Hi everyone, I wanted to make you a tutorial about what to do if your strings have come loose, either all of them or just one of them. So as you can see, I've rigged my daughter's violin here and it's just all you couldn't possibly play on those strings. Now in some cases your bridge will also come down, so I'm hoping that you haven't had that problem, but if you have, then send me a message on suzukihub.com or Suzuki Hub on Facebook and I will try and do a message about that too. So I would suggest you start with the A and the D because they're the central foundation of all of this, which is completely held together with tension and not anything else. So what you want to do is have a look inside the peg box, that's this bit up at the top, and you want to grab your A string. And what you want, I hope you can see this, is that the string is right up close to the peg side of the peg box. So as you turn the peg very gently, this is how you can easily snap a string, so go carefully. As you very gently, and it also, as just happened with mine, can come out at the other end. So you want to get that little bit in there, and then if you hold it out away from the violin, and if you don't have a stand like this, most people don't, you can just put it on your lap between your knees. So you want to hold this out so that the tension is held at both ends, and then you want to carefully turn the peg away from you and push it in as you're turning it. And depending on the quality of the instrument, it may or may not slip if the string is in the middle. This is quite a good violin, so the string is not going to slip. I hope the peg is not going to slip. But if it did, then you would need to go and pull it towards the peg side of the peg box as you turn it. And you want to go really, really carefully. Don't snap the string. As you get closer to it being tight, check that it's in the groove here and in this groove here. And then at a certain point, you're going to want to know what the string is supposed to sound like. So I recommend doing it in 2 stages. Just make it sort of tight enough that it sounds like some sort of note, but don't worry about what pitch it is yet. And we're going to do the same with the D string. So pull it up away from the instrument. And if you need to rewire it at the top, you just poke it through the hole. Very carefully, very carefully, very carefully. Make sure it's in both the grooves on the bridge and on the nut. Okay, and now we've got 2 notes that sound quite similar. They don't sound right yet, but that's fine. Now the G string, the same thing. Push it in as you turn it. Oh, there you go. So you can see that that's slipping. So I'm just going to hold it on the other side and turn it in. Go really carefully. Don't turn more than like maybe 10 degrees at a time. So okay, we've got 3 out of 4 strings sorted out here, and the E string is still totally loose, and it might even have come down the side of the bridge like that. So you want to just put it on there. In there you may have a little piece of plastic. I don't know why I don't have one on this violin. Anyway, to protect the bridge and also to protect the string. So if you do, just put that over the bit of the string that's on the bridge. Make sure it's in the nut there, and gently, the E strings are very volatile and they snap easily, so really go carefully. And you want to make this funny sound. Okay, so now we've got something that sounds like a very out of tune violin, but the strings are sort of tight again. Okay, next thing you want to check is, has the bridge fallen over? You might find it's like this angle or like that angle, and if it is, you just hold it. Let me just re-angle this camera. You want to hold it like this very carefully on both sides and adjust the angle so it stands straight up. If it's too difficult to do that, loosen the strings a little bit, but obviously if you loosen them too much, then the bridge just comes down. Okay, we're nearly there. So now you're at the second part of this. So what you want is either a tuner or if you have perfect pitch, or a piano or something. I am lucky enough to have perfect pitch, so I know what an A is going to sound like. So the A is supposed to sound like this, and you can hear that that's a lot lower. If you can't hear whether it's lower or higher, that's fine. Use an electric tuner, and I can't demonstrate that because I'm using my phone to make this video, but you can just use a tuner and it will tell you to go higher or lower. So it's just going to go, and you'll feel it starting to get a bit more difficult to turn. That's good. And maybe don't go all the way until we've just got all the strings a bit closer. So A, D. Okay, and the D's now gone back down again. So I'm just going to do it and push it in a bit more as I do it. this is something you really want to take your time with. Don't try and do it in 2 minutes flat, especially if you're not used to violins, because you don't want a snapped string. Okay, so those 2 strings are nearly in tune, and the G string just going to go up a little bit. Okay, the E string's very out of tune. Careful with the E string. Okay, so that sounds more and more like a violin. And then we're going to go to the fine tuners. So as you screw them in, the string gets higher because you're adjusting the tension to get it tighter. So we're going to again start with A. Now, oh, this is good. If your adjusters have gone too far in, then you want to undo them, so anti-clockwise, and then you just go to the bit that you just learnt at the top and make the strings a bit sort of more in tune than where they are currently. So here is an A. I don't think you would ever damage a violin by pushing the peg in too hard. This setup is, oh, you can't see that. This setup is very robust. So the thing that you need to worry about is snapping the string by turning the pegs away from you too quickly, but you cannot damage your string on the adjusters, and you can't damage the violin by pushing the pegs in too much, unless you really like our Incredible Hulk or something. So I hope you can hear that sounding a bit more like a violin. And then we're going to go back to the fine tuners, the adjusters. And that's just a bit flat, so I'm going to screw it in a bit more. And this is where you probably want to use a tuner unless you're a musician. Even if you are a musician, frankly. Now this, I just want to show you one more thing. If you undo the adjusters too much, it's not like turning the pegs too much, which is quite dramatic. All that happens, if you keep going, is that it just falls out. So you can see it there, but the string is just still in there. It's not catastrophic. So don't worry about doing that, and then you just stick it back in. I'm not left-handed, so I'm going to switch hands. So it's not a problem at all. And if you have really stiff adjusters, what you can do is take them all out and dab just a tiny bit of lip balm like Vaseline or even WD-40, spray it away from the violin obviously, on the screw, and then screw it all the way in and then halfway back out. That will make it much easier to use. That's a good thing to do when you get a new violin. Okay, so now we just have the E string out of tune. The final check you want to do is, you can see here that this distance is a bit wider than this distance. So just hold the violin and just gently, hopefully, move it. Okay, I have to redo this. So I'm going to just loosen the pegs, and then you can just move it over a bit so it should be equal on both sides. Now, if it's not a very expensive instrument, it may well not be equal anyway, so I don't worry too much about that. But that is a helpful thing to know. Okay, and we're going to tune with the fine tuners. It's quite an in-depth project if your violin's gone really out of tune. But there we go, that would be good enough for me now to tune with the bow. And if you have an electric tuner, you don't even need to use the bow, you can just pluck it. And there we go. In 10 minutes you should have a violin that's gone from horribly out of tune to horribly in tune. Please subscribe to my channel and hope to see you online soon through Suzuki Hub.